Hey, welcome to Who's Number One, the podcast. This will be our last episode of the year, recapping No-Gi Worlds before we take a little break for the holidays. With me here in Austin in studio, Ryan Smith,
What's up, guys?
filmmaker extraordinaire, milk connoisseur, coming to us live from Costa Mesa, California. Chase Smith, Ernest Chasey Smith. He's relocated to Costa Mesa. He's actually an official part of the AOJ athlete program now. So,
you're starting rumors, Michael. You're starting rumors. I don't like it.
And from the mean streets of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, the Canadian gangster, the people's commentator, Ricardo Amendolia.
Ooh, I like that.
All right, so
Thanks.
a lot of stuff happened at No-Gi Worlds. We were in Anaheim. I was just there for a week. I got back in the middle of the night. A lot of big matches and stuff. So let's start down at the color belts, at the brown belts, and work our way up. And so the women's absolute. You covered this one, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were covering it.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Clay just stomped everybody. Really tore it up. Tapped Maggie. Tapped a bunch of other good girls. And, great performance. How many submissions did she have? Do you remember?
Liz Clay?
Yeah.
She went 8 for 8, man.
8 for 8.
8 out of
Queen
8,
Savage.
gentlemen.
I didn't get to follow this one much. I think I was actually out of the event working on something else at that time. Chase, were you around for that one?
Man, I was popping in and out. You know, Liz Clay is obviously one of the top athletes to keep an eye on in the women's ranks. And her matches were short, man. I just remember I'd look over, it'd be a minute and a half in, and she'd be walking off the mat. But I do know she had a variety of submissions. She's very, very aggressive. I think one of the biggest wins for her was probably the Maggie Grandaddy finish there. Here we have it right in front of us. Look at that synergy we had this morning, gentlemen.
This is where she guillotines her, right?
I think it's actually ahead a little bit. Let's see.
Shut up.
In any case, I believe this is the quarterfinal of the absolute, relatively early in the bracket. And Maggie, of course, a world champion in her weight category, hoping to secure double gold for, I think, her third time as she's done that feat.
There's the guillotine.
Yeah.
Ricardo, look at this.
Brown belt.
Ricardo, look at this guillotine. Kick that back a little bit, Ryan.
Yeah.
Wait,
Let's see that again.
check out this.
For internet will cooperate.
Well,
right.
my video is. I don't think my video is in sync with you guys, but what I will say is Elizabeth Clay is. We talk about stars in the making. She's a star in the making. Maggie's just a beast, and I was shocked to hear that she submitted her. You guys told me it was with a guillotine from the butterfly guard. It's amazing. I definitely recommend you guys at home take a look at Elizabeth Clay's match in the West Coast Trials. I think it was 2017. Unfortunately, she didn't compete in ADCC World Championships in 2017, but she won the trials, and she may have been one of the youngest athletes to ever win the trials and punch a ticket to ADCC. Hopefully, we get to see her in the next ADCC World Championship. She is just a young phenom, and congrats to her for 8 submissions she had. Just an awesome run.
I think we'll see probably both of them. I think both of them are a big part of the future of the women's division at ADCC. I mean, Gabby Garcia can't run that division forever, right? I mean, I think Liz Clay and Maggie are going to be two of the girls that are going to step in there and try and fill that void when Gabby leaves.
How old is Liz? She's like 19, right? She's really
Pretty
young.
young, yeah. All right, then.
Yeah, that's a great point. One thing I want to point out before I move on from Liz Clay is Hal did an interview with her after she won. And, it's been an up and down year for Liz. She didn't have great results all year long, but apparently had some injuries that she was struggling with. Was really going through some issues there, but got her brown belt just a month before No-Gi World. She was still a purple belt in October. And for her to come out, finish the year strong with her new rank and finish all of her opponents, really says something about her. So looking forward to see what Liz Clay does next year in 2020.
Shout out to
sorry
Anderson
to interrupt,
Muniz.
guys.
Anderson Muniz watching in the comments right now. Said Os. Big Os to you,
Oh,
Anderson.
nice. Yeah, I just want to give a little plug here. If you're a jiu-jitsu, professional jiu-jitsu promoter, you should be looking at Elizabeth Clay as the next signing for your event. She has all the makings of a superstar, from her looks, from her techniques, from her presence. Elizabeth Clay, next big thing. I know I said this already 5 minutes ago, but guys, sign her now. More Elizabeth Clay in pro jiu-jitsu. On to the next subject, Michael Sears.
All right, something I forgot to say at the beginning. Who's number one in the show is coming. February 8th. We're still working on the black belt super fights. A big announcement this week was obviously Roberto Jimenez, the guy we were just about to talk about, got promoted to black belt. So Conor D'Angelo stepped in to take the Eric Muniz fight. So that's going to be a big one. And also rankings.
Nice.
The rankings are a mess right now. My life's a total mess. Everybody got promoted to black belt in the last week, so I have a whole bunch of promotions to update and everything. But speaking of promotions, let's move on to Roberto Jimenez. That was a big story of brown belt. He lost in his weight class, remember. He lost to Pedro Moreno, their rubber match. A crazy match, if you guys can go back and watch it. He lost 2-0, but there was, I think, 11 advantages between the two of them. So they were all over the place. But then he comes back and taps Roosevelt.
He was a beast.
Did he tap his way through the open class?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch that.
He taps Roosevelt just like he did at Nogi Pans. Wins the event, gets his black belt. So now we're going to have to find him a black belt fight for the event because he's scheduled to be there and everything. Look at this.
I mean, look at that.
This is just like JT Torres and Wagner, the back take. Off of the Kimura trap, he sneaks around to the back. Chase.
That was the thing with beauty. I do believe Roberto may have subbed his way through the absolute. It was definitely his last 3 matches. I don't know if he had 4.
Was this the final? Was Roosevelt the final?
Yeah,
it was.
Roosevelt was the final.
Oh, okay. Who else did he get in the open class? You remember?
A couple guys I didn't recognize, actually.
Pedro Moreno was out, I think, with an injury. The guy who beat him in his weight did not do it.
That's
Did
right.
He go against
Raul.
Giancarlo, or was that Roosevelt?
That was Roosevelt. Roosevelt faced Giancarlo in the other semifinal.
Roosevelt tapped Giancarlo, and he tapped Mason Fowler in the weight class. Roosevelt had a hell of a day, besides the loss.
That knee bar over Mason Fowler happened early. I almost forgot about that, but that was wild. It was like 2 minutes into the match. Roosevelt is an absolute monster, man. That dude is huge. He's like 6'4", but body, muscle proportionate, just jacked. And I definitely see him doing big things in the future as well.
Yeah, Ricardo, you catch any of this brown belt absolute? I know it was pretty late where you were at.
I did. Yeah, no, I mean, Roberto is just it's funny because it's happens this way sometimes with Roberto. He might lose in his division, and then he shines in the absolute. And matches with Pedro Moreno. He had one at Third Coast Grappling, and I know there's a little bit of online rivalry, with those two. A little heat there. So it'll be interesting to see if they two face off again. I got a question for you guys. There was a meme that went viral this weekend of Pedro Moreno with like this crazy face doing the front headlock. Was that on Roberto or who was that?
Yeah, that was
Roberto. Was from the Roberto match.
That was from my footage, and at the final seconds of the mat, he just decided to make this face, man. And it's going crazy on Instagram right now.
Well, Pedro's one of these guys. Pedro's got this dangerous guillotine that's a real problem, right? Like anybody who's got that thing, like that they're really dangerous. It really makes you respect him. Like you saw when he got up 2-0 on Roberto. Roberto had to be really careful on his shots to try and get the takedown because, that guillotine's always there for Pedro.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying the screen grab of that Pedro Moreno match with Roberto reminds me, Michael, you can tell me this guy's name correctly. What was that famous, terrifying Russian wrestler, Alexander
Karelov, when he was gut-wrenching the guy.
Yeah, everyone's seen that photo. It's the same face, dude. It is the same exact face. And I'd also like to point out, for his part, Pedro Moreno, there's a little bit of controversy after the match, but Pedro went on our Instagram and congratulated Roberto on his absolute title, said, great job, excited for your future. So I thought that was a really classy move from Pedro because, it would be easy to kind of buy into the heat and, maybe create some controversy on his own. But he just said, nice job, and looking forward to seeing you again in the future. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy that there's even heat there. They're like two of the nicest guys around, but...
I don't think Roberto.
Sorry to interrupt, guys, but Chase, you're getting a compliment on my watch party. Bear from Sawyer Role said your stash is fire.
Ah, yes, thank you, Bear. Bear, the man who has great taste, great style, a tastemaker in the sport, appreciates the fine things in life.
Shout out to Bear. I was at Sawyer Role HQ the other day with an athlete doing some stuff, and they were very. Very nice. They took care of me. It was very cool. I'm excited with stuff coming out of there. Chase, so what's going on with the mustache? I thought it was like a Movember type of thing. You're just going to keep it going, huh?
Dude, I'm rocking it. You should have seen – I had more comments on the mustache than anything at Nogi Worlds. People kept talking to me. One guy looked at me. I swear to God, it's one of the greatest moments of my life. He looks at me and goes, I love you. Can I have a photo with you? And it's like, all right.
Something I noticed at Nogi Worlds, I didn't realize so many people watch this thing. I would have people about to warm up or getting ready to go on the mat and like brown belts or purple belts, and they would come up and start talking to me about the Who's Number One show. So there's a lot of people out there and a lot of athletes. Several black belts came up to me upset that I did not pick them to win Nogi Worlds on this show. Not really upset, but a lot of more people are watching than I thought. A lot of big name athletes. And then so let's move on to the black belts, right? Very first one. A big story there was debut of Taliesin Suarez at black belt. He looked about what we thought. I mean, he stomped his way to the final. He won his first match by RNC, won his second match by RNC. The guy he ended up, we thought he was going to meet Woodmansey in the Christian in the semi, but Christian got DQ'd playing with fire with that saddle position. And then so he taps the guy from Europe in the semis, but then he had a tough one in the final versus Hajni Barbosa. Hajni Barbosa, a very underrated competitor, taking second at Worlds 2 years in a row. And I mean, that was the closest match I've seen Taliesin have in a while because he was just killing people at purple and brown belt. But, yeah, I mean, 4 years in a row, no-gi world champion at 4 different belts. I mean, what do you guys – Chase, what do you think about Taliesin, about his performance there, his future, all that?
I mean, I was happy to see Rajani push him a little bit. Like you just mentioned there, Michael, you know, Taliesin had sort of wrecked the divisions, also had a fair amount of assistance from teammates throughout his career in the color belts, a lot of closing out. And, you know, it's nice to see him fight the final against a very game opponent and to see him struggle a little bit. Not struggle, but I mean, work a little harder than I feel like I've seen him in a couple years. And he also came out on top and had 2 submissions. No one, by the way, had more than 2 submissions in the black belt ranks. Maybe I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure I watched all the matches. And that was the top number for, I think, 6 or 7 athletes. So Taliesin right there. It's nice to see a roosterweight securing some subs on their way to gold. So great performance from Taliesin, and very excited to see what he does next. Will he be at Europeans, Michael? Did you hear that at all?
Yeah, he said he's going to be Europeans. He's going to try and do his usual Grand Slam and World Pro this year, I believe.
Usual Grand Slam. Yes, right on schedule.
Yeah, like 5. Yeah, I think it'll be 4 or 5 years in a row he did the Grand Slam, which is pretty ridiculous. What are you thinking about Taliesin, Ricardo?
Taliesin won Nogi Worlds in his debut at black belt. In the words of Nate Diaz, I ain't surprised, mother lovers. I was not shocked at all. Taliesin,
somebody cut this man's feet. Cut him off. He's done.
Hey, I didn't swear. I said mother. I changed it up a little bit. No, Taliesin, just amazing athlete, amazing competitor. He's got such a great story. You know, big shout out. He's a Manauara. He's from Manaus, Brazil. I'm pushing for that the Brazilian Dagestani documentary. We got to do it, boys. Let's go to Manaus. Come on. And, you know, we'll get to take a look at some of the toughest guys that not a lot of people know about. And Taliesin is a product of his environment, you know, and left Manaus at an early age, slept on the mats, did his thing at Cicero Costa, moved to New York, and truly amazing story. And I'm going to say it once again, Sears, you did a great piece on Taliesin. We should re-banner this on the website, let everyone take a look at it. You know, just hear his story, guys. Taliesin is a special athlete, and you're going to be hearing lots more about Taliesin Suarez in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, something like I work a lot with these guys at the purple and brown belt level, and something that's a recurring theme, just like with this story, is these guys sacrifice a lot. Like everybody, I was interviewing people at Atos the other day, and for who's number one, and all these guys, just like Taliesin, leave home 14, 15 years old with, you know, nothing in their pocket, and to see it finally pay off for people that I've seen go through that, like Taliesin, it's really a special thing, and I'm really happy for him. I think 2020 is going to have big things coming for him. I think early January we'll get into previewing the gi season, and one of the big questions is that roosterweight division. Who's going to be there? Does Mikey make the cut again? Does Bruno come back? You never know. Kawatera, he could just jump in at any moment, so could be some really cool matchups for Taliesin coming up next year. All right.
I want to see Malfacini come back. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I hope they're all there. Yeah, I don't think Mikey goes to Rooster again. Mikey barely made it last year. But light featherweight, no surprise. Cicero Costa close out in the final. Shout out to they didn't close out the semifinal. Iago George and Juni actually fought the semifinal. That was pretty cool. But I mean, Joao Miao wins like his 15th Nogi Worlds title. Actually, I think
he took second. He took second.
Iago George was actually the champion. Yeah, Iago George, I believe. Iago George is really an overlooked athlete because of the team he's on, sort of. He's won so much stuff, but just because he's got Joao and Paulo sort of taking the shine in that division from Cicero, he doesn't get talked about much. But I believe this was officially his first black belt world title.
I think that's correct. He's won a couple of Grand Slams, maybe even World Pro. I can't remember that, but I do know for sure.
He's really good.
Grand Slam, yeah.
So, yeah, there wasn't much to talk about there. It's just, you know, a couple matches close out. But featherweight, Ricardo, another all Manaus. Actually, this was two Manaus guys in the final there. Gabriel Souza and Alex Adre. Alex Adre gets the black belt world title. I was really happy for him. Ricardo, did you catch that featherweight final at all?
Saw a little bit of it, right? He's a Novo Niao kid, right?
Yeah, Feijão. Yeah, Club Feijão. And then
Super close
Feijão,
match, right?
super
Did it
tough.
go to decision, or was it one advantage on the finish there? I think it was decision.
yeah, I believe it was a decision. But
Yeah.
yeah, those guys are both really tough. Two of the up and comers. They actually use their light featherweights in the gi, but they both. I mean, featherweight was one of the bigger black belt brackets. They both fought their way through there. Had some tough matches, but I mean, one of the black belt divisions that I was really excited about was Johnny Thomas' run.
Oh yeah.
Johnny Thomas' run was off the chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chase, what do you think about Johnny Thomas going through? And I mean, this is a guy. I interviewed him on day one when he qualified for day two. He said he had never even made it to day two before, and he goes and he wins the title.
Super happy for Johnny. You know, he's always putting in the work. You see him in all the tournaments, big and small, and for him to really overcome a lot of adversity on his way to win the title was fantastic. And there were some really close matches. You know, his semifinal with Fabio Caloi was really, really, really close as well. Came down to actually a penalty point as Johnny was chasing Caloi out of bounds. That really that pushed Johnny into the lead there. But this moment here we're watching now in the final was such
Look
a
at this guy.
gutsy move. You know, rolling. He was up on advantages with only 20 seconds left. He could have probably cruised on top, but instead dives for a rolling back take, secures the mount. You know, that's a ballsy move, and what a way to win your title, man! Like, so I was super pumped. He's bleeding everywhere. You know, probably the best gold medal photo we've ever gonna get. So shout out to Johnny Tama. That was awesome.
If he just anybody else is probably in that position is just going to take a front headlock and ride out those last 15 seconds, but not Johnny Tama. He's going to roll for the twister hook to the back take and then mount Igor Rodriguez. Very tough competition. But Ricardo, what do you think about this? I mean, Johnny's a guy who's been around a lot. He does everything. He's never been able to get over that hump and get to this level though. But I mean, to win Nogi Worlds is big for him, huh?
It's big for him, and now it's time for an Uncle Ricky story. Okay, back when he was a young blue belt, I saw this young Ecuadorian athlete at the Worlds named Sinistro, and I introduced him and kind of let him, Bear from Sawyer Role know him, and got his attention and stuff. And Johnny Tama kind of came there later, and first impression of Johnny Tama was, man, this kid is so exciting, goes for broke. And, and we saw that from blue, purple, brown, he just kept fighting and grinding and winning. And, Howell did an interview with him, or whoever did an interview with him after this gold medal specifically. And you see him crying and you see the emotion. And he's saying, like, listen, I left everything to move to the United States and I wanted this so bad. But here's another twist of the story. Why that was special for me was, at the Worlds this year, he made it to the quarters or semifinals, and he was supposed to fight Lucas. And that was really, really a hard decision for him to bow out to Lucas, because he was like, man, like, I respect Lucas, and I have to do this because of seniority, and, everyone at Alianza is telling me to do this, but I really want this gold medal. So for me, I was in the stands talking to him about this with some other people, and we're like, man, like, we can't tell you what to do, but you got to do what your team tells you and what you think is best. So when you see him crying and you see the emotion that, he went through after winning this, it just makes it so much more special for me. So, man, I'm so happy for Johnny. Finally got that world championship title. The kid's a beast. He's a true submission hunter. He's somebody that you want to watch do jiu-jitsu and compete in jiu-jitsu. From the opening seconds of the match, he does like a Superman dive, double leg attempt on Igor Rodriguez. So, yeah, I'm just incredible. I'm overfilled with emotion here.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're talking about him having to close out at Worlds. He had to do the same thing at Pans. I can't remember who it was with, but with another Lions guy at Pans, he had to close out in like the 8th final, the quarterfinal. So I was really feeling down for Johnny earlier this year, because I was like, man, this guy's basically training for nothing. He was forced to close out at the two biggest tournaments, and he was crying both times, So for him to end the year like this on a high note and get that world title is big for him, because it was a real bummer for him to have to bow out in the 8 finals or quarterfinals at Pans and Worlds. But yeah, really excited.
By the way, guys, before we move on from Johnny, definitely gonna plug the Fix My Game episode we have with him. It's in the gi, but you see a lot of really cool, super modern techniques, a lot of stuff that Johnny was using, including A really tricky 50-50 pass where he weaves his own arm through the leg entanglement to help start kind of like a side smash position. So anyways, if you guys haven't seen it, check out the Fix My Game with Johnny Tama. You'll probably see it banner on the site this week, but there's a lot of cool stuff in there.
All right, middleweight.
And, wait. I just want to give one shout out. If you guys don't know, big shout out Nando Soluso. He's the guy that kind of started the whole Ecuadorian Alianza squad. You know, he went to Ecuador years ago, developed guys like Leo Itarade, his brothers, Sinistro, and Johnny Tama. So big shout out to Soluso, one of the nicest guys in jiu-jitsu, a true OG of the sport as well.
Yeah,
May continue.
Ecuadorian people really tore it up here. I mean, you had Roberto won the brown belt open class, and then Johnny Tama wins black belt lightweight. So, yeah, great showing for Ecuador. But moving on to middleweight, hell of a division, right? With the final, probably the best match of the tournament, in my opinion. And, I mean, Dante is a guy, a fellow Canadian. You got to feel proud for him, Ricardo. I'm sure you were doing some sort of Canada version of the USA chant while you were watching the match. But, yeah, Dante is a guy who he's been right there for years. 2019, he's really turned it up. Had a lot of big wins. He tapped Izaki, tapped Edwin, tapped Mateus Lutz, took Lepri's back in the ADCC quarterfinals, and now he finally gets it done at Nogi Worlds after taking third 2 years in a row. Ricardo, how you feel about Dante's win here?
Man, we don't train together. I don't know him outside of seeing him compete and talking to him, but I'm so proud of him. It's amazing because I've personally seen him compete here in Canada as a young blue and purple belt. Seeing him compete at the highest level all over the world, and he just kept grinding and just kept, sharpening his craft. He went out to Ohio. He just something. It's very inspirational to see a Canadian athlete do so well, and I really think that, much like many other athletes, it's all about confidence, and I'm not saying he wasn't confident, but I think that after the Lucas Lepri win, you're going to see a whole other Dante Leone going into tournaments now. I think he knows, like, I'm there and I'm better than the best and I can do this. So every time Dante competes, it's going to be a scrap. He had that amazing match with Renato Canuto at the Kasai Super Series back in the day. Hopefully we get to see that one again. So I'm a huge Dante fan. I've been singing his praises in Canada. Like I said, my fellow Canadians always give me crap because Dante doesn't train in Canada. They want to see me shine to more Canadians. But, man, he's born in Canada, so he's got my praise.
Man, did you hear that arm break during that match?
No, I was on the other side of the gym.
Oh,
you heard it.
Oh, yeah, it's on the footage. It is absolutely brutal. But
there's some serious pops from Jamie Canuto's arm there. But shout out to Jamie Canuto for eating it like a boss and like coming back and like wrestling the rest of that match. Yeah, I mean, but he was using the arm. He kept using it the rest of the match. He was using collar ties and arm drags, wherever else he's trying. So hopefully it's not so serious.
And also shout out to both of those guys. Sorry to interrupt, but man, they went after it. Teammates, they didn't go out there and like half-ass give a WWE. They went after it. That's what we want to see. If you're gonna close out with your teammate, we want to see action. Now, all the respect in the world if you decide not to, but if you're gonna do it, do it. You know what I mean? We got to say back in Canada is if you're coming on, come on, Harold Howard. We want to see more of
to break your teammate's arm like that.
No, they did. Exactly. They did the right thing.
Either you close out or you fight. Don't fake it. You know what I mean? So
a closeout would have been silly. I don't like when these guys don't train together. Dante said the last time they trained together was 2016. So I don't like when people don't even train together close out, but they did the right thing because imagine how much worse Nogi Roads would have been if they didn't go out and have this match. We would have had another closeout in the final, which would have made it 3. Instead, these guys go on and put on the match of the tournament. Jaime's just a straight up G, doesn't tap to that arm lock, and then keeps fighting afterwards. This was a great match, the match of the tournament. When I saw the final set up, I didn't think these guys were going to close out. I know how both these guys are. These guys don't want to win by a handshake. And great win for Dante. And to tell you the truth, I'm even more impressed by Jaime taking second here than I would be if they would have closed out and he took first. Because him stepping up, having the fight, putting on a great fight. See right there, he wanted that Jaime Canuto flying arm lock right there.
All respect to Jaime, man.
But great year for Dante, man. Dante's a heavy hitter in Nogi now, man. He has such a great year. And
he's really hit his stride. I feel like in no-gi, he knows exactly what he wants to do against any opponent. He's so strong. His wrestling really, really has improved, I feel like, this year. No one really wants to take him down either because his guard is so good. So Dante is a major problem for really anyone he faces.
Yeah, if I was him, I wouldn't even put the gi back on. Just keep getting that money in no-gi because he's beating some big names, man. He's got that no-gi world title now, too. But, right here, he got the 2 going out of bounds with the arm-in guillotine. He's got a great guillotine. He's somebody that I'm thinking going to ACC 2021 is going to definitely have to be one of the favorites.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still somewhat young. I think he's like 24 or something.
Wow.
But, all right, so up next, we had the medium heavyweight division, which was the a big shocker here was Ronaldo Jr. going down first round. I think that caught a lot of people in the gym off guard. Did you guys see that match?
Yeah, what was that guy's name from Barbosa Jiu-Jitsu? I'm spacing on it, but I watched the match.
Marcos Martins from Barbosa Jiu-Jitsu. He's another guy that never had a visa, and I actually met him in Sao Paulo working with Murilo Santana when I was going to interview Murilo Santana one time. We were doing it on the street, and Murilo had a couple of his friends look out because it was like, the middle of the night in Sao Paulo because I had a $4,000 camera in my hands. And then that guy was one of the guys who was like one of the lookouts for us. And then he starts I didn't know his real name. He starts messaging me after I made the picks on the show, actually, telling me, "Oh, you're wrong. I'm gonna win." Telling me in Portuguese, "I'm gonna win." I guess this was his first time coming up to America. And then I didn't see the match, but I come back into the gym, and he's on the medics table getting his knee iced up. He wasn't able to continue, and he's just laughing and pointing at me. "I told you I was gonna win. I told you I was gonna beat him." So it was a big moment for him. I think he was just super happy to finally get up here and compete in the United States. And yeah, big win for him in his first international major tournament. But that was a shocker. And there was a lot of good stuff going on. Jake Watson fought Gabriel Maeda first round. I know Jonatas great.
Had a sweet submission over Servio Tullio only a couple minutes into the match. The Luna brothers always tearing it up.
Yeah. I believe Jonatas Gracie had to pull out of this match, out of this bracket. Did he compete at the weight? I know he got tapped by Felipe Trovo and got hurt in the open class. I don't know if he did the weight class or not.
He submitted one guy in his weight class, and I don't know why he didn't come back the next day. I didn't get a clarification on that.
I think it was probably because of that Felipe Trovo toehold. But here we got another guy, Manuel Hibamar, a guy who's always been right there on the edge of these big tournaments. He's beat a lot of big names, but he's had a hard time over the years putting together that string of 3 or 4 big wins in a row, right? He'll tap Calisans or whatever, and then lose to somebody else in the next round. So Manuel Hibamar, happy for him. He got that black belt world title finally. He's had a great year. He's been beating a lot of good guys in the gi. But to go out there and get it done. Ricardo, another Manaus guy, another Manaus world champion. What's going on here?
Told you they got something in the water down in the Amazon, and Manuel Hibamar, it's always nice to see him win just because he's such a nice guy, every time we see him, he's always so friendly and stuff. He's so Bia Mesquita, super friendly off the mat, but vicious on the mat. And, big props to him. Student of Mestre Pina back at Manaus originally, came to the U.S., now was training with Rodrigo Pinheiro, opened up a gym with Natalia Jesus, his wife, who's another phenom. So, I always like seeing Manuel Hibamar compete. Fun to watch. He's got his very complete game, beautiful guard, beautiful passing, awesome back takes. What can you say more about him?
Yeah, absolutely. Chase, how you feel seeing Hibamar? Hibamar's one of the nicest guys in the game, right? Everybody loves Hibamar. Man. Happy for him.
Seeing Hiba on top.
Shout out to Chase's dad. Your dad just cruised behind you.
Yep, I'm home for the holidays, and the family is here. In fact, the first time we ever did the FloGrappling Awards, we launched it from this living room where I am right now. So there's a lot of just history in my parents' living room. But anyways,
you should ask your dad how he feels about Hibamar winning a world title. Can we get him on?
Yeah, he actually might have an answer. My mom did say Dante looked really good, so my mom follows it very closely. She watches everything. But seeing Hibamar win is awesome, man. He's always been really, really friendly with us. He's a local. He's only an hour away from Flow HQ, so we kind of hang out a lot at all the tournaments, and just like a good-natured beast. He's so friendly, like Ricardo said. But man, he's a finisher. He's had some big wins this year, and to see him do it. And do it with authority was great. I mean, he took on Victor Hugo in the absolute first round. And he actually was trying to take him down. Victor Hugo's at ultra heavyweight. So, Hibamar's fun to watch. He's got a great style, very aggressive jiu-jitsu, and very happy to see him take home his first black belt world title.
You got to talk to him afterwards. What did he say to you?
Well, I don't know. He was saying that now he's a black belt world champion like his wife, and he wants to have a kid and make another black belt world champion, I believe. That's what I remember from it. But
it's pretty balling in.
Nice.
Love that.
Pretty ambitious. I like that.
How many Manaus guys we had? Roosterweight, Manaus champ. Featherweight, Manaus champ. Medium heavy, Manaus champ. So I believe at least 3 champs from Manaus out of 9 at black belt. So that's not bad for one city in the world to take 33% of the male black belt world champs.
And I just want to give a shout out to the guy who got in the finals with them, Gabriel Maeda. I like watching him compete. True submission hunter. And sometimes his style prohibits him from, squeaking out wins because he's not a point player. He goes for submissions all the time. And the guys like Hibamar that are so tactical can, tend to outscore on him. But Gabriel's a beast, man. And I saw I think he did an anaconda choke earlier on in one of his matches. Really, really, really tough competitor. So if you see a Gabriel Maeda match, be ready. You're going to see a submission on either end sometimes, but always exciting to watch.
And then moving on, we got the heavyweight division. We had checkmate closeout, right? Adam Warzinski takes the title. Adam Warzinski, he's the world champion. Murillo, who was a lot of our picks here, went down early to Trovo, I believe. I did not see that match. Did anybody catch that match? What happened with
No, I was running around.
I believe Murillo actually lost by penalty. I think it was a very, very stagnant match. Trovo, I think, either took it by one advantage or by Murillo having a penalty point. But shout out to Felipe Trovo. He had a really solid event. Though I don't think did he get third in his division?
He took third. Yeah.
He took third. He also had a big win in the absolute as well. So shout out to that guy for coming on strong and having a little bit of a breakout performance there.
The other semi, I didn't see this. I just ran into Devontae at the Cheesecake Factory in Anaheim, and he told me he got DQ'd in the other semifinal against Jackson.
Apparently, it was a very heavy collar tie situation. Jackson kind of labeling on real strong, and Devontae pushed him, is what I heard. I didn't see it, but that's what Hal told me, and that he was DQ'd immediately. So
Yeah.
the IWJF getting a bit more stringent maybe with those penalty calls. But, it's unfortunate, right? Because Devontae, it was a great tournament for him as well. And to see him out early, just got to learn to control his emotions, I guess. But disappointing all the same.
And they actually, he told me they took away his bronze from the absolute, unfortunately, over that DQ.
Oh, wow.
All right, we got a question from Bear. Bear wants to know why he's asking us, why do some champions in gi and ADCC not do no gi worlds? Why? He wants to know. Yeah, well, one thing that was a big thing this year, talking to people around the tournament, a lot of people didn't understand the points requirement. I probably ran into 20 name athletes who were like, oh, I wanted to do it. They're there coaching, but they just didn't have the points requirement. They didn't understand that the points requirement for gi and no gi is different. So if you're qualified for gi worlds, those points aren't any good. So I think next year we'll see a lot more people getting the no gi points and going out and doing it for sure.
Yeah.
But
I also think there's another elephant in the room. Let's be honest, and I think the reason is because, come on, guys, let's call it like it is.
Say it, yeah.
Wait. Well, I'm gonna tell you, it's because the Anaheim Convention Center doesn't serve the right acai like they do at the pyramid. So, no good acai.
It was the first year they tested for steroids, right? And the rumor is that many guys, both present at ADCC and just athletes in general, use steroids. So, it's hard to confirm such a thing, but that was definitely, in the air out there, if you will, that you thought it was going to be in town. And, it's another risk for some people that might be doing that kind of thing. So
yeah, they definitely were. I was doing the champion interviews, and they had to do it with insight of a USADA employee. Like the USADA, I'm interviewing like Dante or whoever, and right off the frame of it, there's like a lady from USADA watching the interview because once they win the match, I guess they're not allowed. That lady snatches them, and you're not allowed to leave their site. They have to be able to watch you from then on out. So it's pretty interesting.
And if you get caught with steroids, what's the punishment?
I believe it's 4 years now.
Wow.
Tayani got
it's
4
4
years.
years.
Yeah, I think they did it because of like Olympic stuff. Because like if you're an Olympic athlete and you get a 2-year ban, but what is that? You can do the next Olympics, right? So I think they bumped it up to 4 years for that reason. But 4-year suspension is a career killer.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but
For the record, I actually just think it was the acai. I wasn't talking about steroids. But anyways, continue.
I don't think they had any acai there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Just let down.
That's what I'm saying. You can't
These
cut the
no-gi
acai
guys,
out,
man.
bro.
These no-gi guys don't get jiu-jitsu culture. No acai. I don't even know.
Yeah, but what do we got going on? All right,
Back
so
to this. Let's go.
super heavyweight. Okay. Okay,
Trattor, man. That's all Trattor.
super heavyweight. Yeah, Trattor is another guy who's had a big year no-gi. Okay, so Trattor, on like a 1 week notice, rose up like a G, beats Luis Panza in Vegas, right? Trattor's always down. If you need somebody 3 days from now, call Trattor. He'll take the fight. So he beats Luis Panza, then it loses another one. But that was like the first time I saw him no-gi. Then he goes to no-gi Pans, beats Keenan, and wins no-gi Pans, right? Big victory for him. Goes to ADCC on like a 5-day notice or something, beats 3 people. Takes second place to Gordon at ADCC. And now he goes out, he gets the no-gi world champion. I mean, he's probably the shortest super heavyweight of all time. He's like 5'6", competing at super heavyweight. But, man, he's got a solid game, man. And training at Marcelo's with those guys, I think he's got a bright future no-gi for sure. How do you guys feel about this bracket? Who did he even fight in the final? I can't remember right now.
Elliot Kelly. And,
that's right.
man,
Yeah.
I actually want to give Elliot Kelly some props where they're due as well. That guy's been around forever. It competes in both masters and adult, regular and fight to win, things like that. And he had some big wins. Elliot Kelly looked really good, and he took Trattor all the way up until the 10-minute mark. Trattor managed to get him with an Estima lock, which the match was basically over. I think he had scored, maybe even something like 6 or 8 points at that point. But still, Elliot Kelly looked great, but Trattor, like you said, is an incredible competitor, one of the toughest guys with a really versatile game, actually. His inverted guard is crazy good for someone that's super heavy and, like, pretty thick. Like, that dude can go up on his head and shoulders and retain guard like nobody's business. And I also am a big fan of his north-south choke. Once he gets that position, it's game over for pretty much anyone.
I wish I had a north-south choke. These guys that are good with it, man, are just – I just can't figure that move out. I can't do it to anybody. But the guys that are good with it is such a great option from side control, especially in no-gi. Trattor is such a great tactician, right? He's such a smart fighter. He never puts himself out of position. He's so hard to score on. And Elliot Kelly's – I mean, remember Elliot Kelly beat Zanji at no-gi Worlds – at Master Worlds a couple years ago. He's a great competitor. He beat Zanji Ibero at that tournament. And what do you think? What are you thinking about Trattor, Ricardo?
Love Trattor, man. Love watching him compete. Just a little beast, little fireball, and training with one of the best teams in the world, Marcelo Garcia. Can't go wrong. He's a quiet guy. Like, he's not very outspoken on social media, so not a lot of people know about him. But like you said, he's been grinding, had wins this year. It's been a huge year for him. I want to see more Trattor, man. Guy's the real deal.
Yeah.
All right, we got another question from Bear from Sawyer Role. He's the only fan sending questions in right now. But what he wants to know, he says Finfo made a post about how people's Facebook posts. I lost, but I'll be back stronger. Yeah, about
Did you guys see it? I saw it. I saw it, and it was
Sum
hilarious.
it up. Let us get a belay breakdown of this Facebook post by Finfo.
Listen, I'm not gonna. I gotta be careful here. Like, I don't compete. People are gonna knock me for it. So he was just.
They're chapping it for the Ricardo. You've put it on the line before.
Well, I've done it before, but he said, like, it was really funny. He was just like, oh, like the long Facebook post. It's like the guy loses first round. He's like, I lost first round to the guy that won the division. I'm gonna come back. I either win or learn. Like, all these cliches. You got to know Finfo's characteristic to really appreciate it. He's a funny guy. And, it was a pretty funny post. But
I've always thought it was funny, like, working these tournaments. Some people, I think, have those things, like, in the chamber ready to go. Like, I'll see somebody lose, and then 20 minutes later they have the photo and the dramatic Facebook. And it's like, man, you're supposed to be, like, broken, like crying in the hallway right now or something. Like, how have you already made a social media post about it? And I think there's a direct correlation. I figured this out when I was working as a photographer. The better someone it is, the longer it's going to take them to message me and ask for a photo after the tournament. If you lose first round, those are the people who are like 10 minutes later, hey, can I get a photo? No, like if you make it to the finals and lose, you're not messaging looking for a photo right afterwards.
No.
Yeah, some people are all about that social media life for sure. And Bear's also asking when are we going to get a FloGrappling tournament. Well, we have a FloGrappling Super Fight event coming up in February, Bear. Hope to see you there. February 8th, Costa Mesa. All
Who's
right,
number
so
one, baby?
I heard Sawyer Role might step up and sponsor. What's up with that? Let's go.
I didn't hear that. Ricardo's got some inside info apparently. But
I'll see what I can do. I know some people. All right, guys, listen. Hold on a sec. I got 5 minutes left. I want to say 2 things, okay? 3 things, actually. Number 1, Roberto Cyborg Abreu wins absolute, gets silver. Man, this guy looked, in my opinion, sharper than ever. Even though he lost in the absolute finals, he did an amazing job in his division. Really good wrestling. He's just, we're always impressed with him. Later, he said he has to have open heart surgery. It's insane what this guy is doing. I'm like, he's such a character. He's such a he's got such a characteristic in the sport, and huge props to him for doing so well. Second thing I want to say is, because we didn't get to the women's division yet, and I got 4 minutes. Heather Raftery and Talita Allen Carr, one of the greatest matches I've seen in the female divisions in the finals. Go check that out. That is what jiu-jitsu is all about. Nonstop action from start to finish. Just sweep for submission attempt, takedown for takedown. Awesome match. Continue.
Are you talking about the Honey Badger?
Honey Badger. The one that I picked.
The Honey Badger.
The one that I picked.
I actually called her Honey Badger on the ground. I said, hey, Honey Badger, how you doing? And she just kept going. She didn't question it. So I guess.
Well,
it's really
she messaged me after. She's like, what does this mean, Honey Badger? And then I explained it. I'm like, small, ferocious, and it's funny because if you look up the definition of a honey badger is a small, ferocious animal that can adapt to new environments that moves all around. That is Talita. 1 minute she's in Rio, 1 minute she's in Florida, California. She goes everywhere. And like I said, what impresses me the most, she doesn't have a big train with. She's teaching the majority of the time, and she still goes out there and kicks ass. Talita on collar all day, the Honey Badger.
Honey Badger don't care.
Yeah, let's okay. So let's move on to the next weight ultra heavy. I want to apologize to everybody that I didn't see any of these finals. You would sort of my role has become I interview the champs, and I usually watch the finals afterwards. But I've basically been working straight through since the tournament. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of this stuff yet. I just got back from work at 1 a.m. But we go to ultra heavy. Cyborg beat Victor Hugo early, right?
Yeah, beat him in his weight division.
Yeah, he beat him in like the first round or something. And then this is absolute video actually it's on. Then he beats Pool Polo, basically, beats up on Pool Polo. But okay, let's go to the real story between Cyborg, Victor Hugo was open class. They make it to the final of the open class. Everybody's thinking, Cyborg beat him pretty easily earlier, right?
Yeah.
Everybody.
It was a close match. No, I would not call it pretty easily. He was even down towards the end, and it was a last minute, I want to say, penalty that got Cyborg ahead on the scoreboard. But it was by no means easy match the first time around.
Right. Well, Cyborg was 2-0 against him going into it because he beat him in Vegas too.
Yeah.
So everybody's sort of thinking
that it's going to be an easy match.
He's gonna beat him again. Cyborg was the guy people were picking to win this. Huge win for Victor Hugo, tapping Cyborg in the absolute final. You were with Cyborg for like basically the whole day, right?
Yeah, the whole day.
You were trailing him. So what do you guys think, Ricardo? You're going to have to leave probably soon. What do you think about this knee bar setup by Victor Hugo? And did you ever find out if it was the quickest submission or not? Did you ever find out what you were looking for?
I didn't find out, but I think it may have been the fastest submission in an absolute final in the No-Gi IBJJF World Championship. Can't believe I said that whole sentence, but I think it was one of the fastest submissions. I think the thing is with Victor Hugo, he's we saw it at ADCC, even though he didn't do so well at ADCC. Go watch his matches. He had some really slick setups that I didn't see a lot of other competitors doing. From De La Riva, that little shin trap elevation, I was like, damn, no one else is doing that stuff here. And I think it was just a matter of time of just developing confidence in the new belt division, studying his opponents and learning what they're good at. And I think it was just a matter of time before he could figure out the riddle that is defeating Roberto Cyborg Abreu. And on that note, guys, I got to peace out. I'm sorry. Next week we won't be back. I'll see you guys in the new year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all. Until next time.
All right, love you,
See you,
Ricardo.
Ricardo.
Merry Christmas to you and your family out there.
Peace.
All right, now we're back down to 2 screens.
Mm-hmm.
Chase, perfect.
Gentlemen.
Kick it off to you. Yeah, Ricardo's finally gone. Chase, so kick it
Loudmouth
over.
Canadian.
Yeah, kick it over to you. What do you think about Victor Hugo, man? Big win for him. Tapping not even just winning it, but tapping Cyborg, tapping a legend in the open class final.
Well, you got to hand it to him, man. You know, he didn't get down on himself after a couple close losses to him. Even the first time around at the GP, Cyborg kind of ran up the score on him, but you know, he never dominated him too badly positionally. Victor was always able to get back to guard and stuff like that. So with Victor to make the real-time adjustments to figure out a game plan that he, executed flawlessly in the absolute final there, really shows some high-level strategy and will to win. You know, those things will go a long way when paired together. So I think we'll see a lot more big things from Victor Hugo. It's not even a full year for him at Black Belt. He was just promoted after the 2019 World Championships there. Yeah. And it's a huge feather in his cap getting that win. He's also holds a win, I believe, over Joao Gabriel Rocha and Ricardo Evangelista. So Victor Hugo already making a pretty big name for himself at the Black Belt division. And someone you should definitely keep an eye on, as he'll be tearing it up all season long next year.
Yeah, I think going into the gi season, he's somebody that you can count on and do some big things because the big names, I mean, Ultra Heavy's sort of thin, and the big names tend to just sort of show up for Worlds, right? Joao Gabriel Rocha, Buchecha, I mean, he's probably not going to have those marquee matchups until the World Championships. And he's a monster, man. He's just going to get better and better. We saw what Kynan did last year in his first year at Black Belt. I mean,
that's right. Great point.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are coming on quick. Victor Hugo's another young guy. He's like 21 years old or something. You were right in the middle of all that. You had the coaches mic'd up and everything. What was it like over there for that open class final?
Oh man, I mean, Cyborg had gone through Victor twice before, so I kind of had a lot of confidence in Cyborg, and then it was like the submission came so quick. Got it pulled up right here, but Victor just did a great job securing this knee bar, and I got the tap. But on the way to there, Cyborg was going through James Populo. He went through Devontae. And it just seemed like every match that, Cyborg had, he was just kind of plowing through guys. So, but still, he got a 6 no-gi world title. It's too bad that he didn't get the absolute, but I'm excited to see the rematch between these two guys.
Yeah, I mean, if it happens, Cyborg might have hurt his knee there. He said he's got to have open heart surgery.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much longer do we have of Cyborg competing?
Yeah, I mean, he turns 39 years old this week. Yeah. You're having open heart surgery, and good for him. He's been putting it off for a long time, and it's something that he wants to address. And
how do you even compete and win Nogi Worlds when you need to have heart surgery? I don't even understand, man. It sounds rough.
Yeah.
That's the thing about being a cyborg, my friends. You are built up. He was going to come back stronger from open heart surgery.
Yeah,
just
that's true. He's going to come back with a better heart. Yeah.
Yeah,
new and improved heart. Yeah,
he was talking to me about. He was talking to me about all the times in the past that he's had matches where it's fired up during competition. I think one of the most notable was his super fight with Andre Galvao at ADCC. It was a great matchup, and you just kind of see it. It's not Cyborg's normally out there suplexing people and getting after it, and he was just kind of I don't know. It wasn't him. So hopefully he can return to competition after the surgery.
All right, let's get to the ladies. First one, Roosterweight division, no surprise. I mean, Maisa, 2 girls. She had 1 match. I mean, Maisa, heavy favorite there. We all thought she was going to roll. She did. Cut off her famous long hair. She has hair like down to her waist normally. It's like shoulder length now. She cut it herself to make weight, which was pretty interesting. Mikey Musumeci style. I was trying to get her to go all the way and shave her head like Mikey, but she wasn't having it. But another no-gi world title for Maisa. I mean, nobody seems to be challenging her at Roosterweight anytime soon. I mean, maybe when Jessica Khan gets up there in a year or two, but yeah, she's just going to keep rolling. And we go to what do you think about that one, Chase, about Maisa? I mean, it was just pretty standard, right? Okay, Maisa's at Roosterweight. She's going to stop.
Yeah, it's 1 match. I will say I think she might have lost to Brasileiros to somebody. So there's people out there.
That was up at light feather. That was up at light feather, actually.
That's
because
true. She did go up a division. Yeah. That's right.
She's so small. Going up to light feather's got to be tough. But I guess maybe they didn't bump up the weight for roosterweight because she's like the tiniest person I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine.
She had trouble making the weight. She had to cut her hair to make the weight.
But hats off to Maeda. I mean, she is incredible tactician. Her technique is flawless. I've even gotten to roll with Maeda once before, and there's no way to pass the guard. There's no space. There's nothing there. It's just a guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's amazing to watch. I really have a great time. She's got great jiu-jitsu, and she's a finisher's mindset as well. She's always trying to get on the back and get that RNC.
Unity style, Berimbolo smash passing, just like Talus and just like a lot of these guys.
She did have a nice little smash pass sequence, I think. She even locked her hands together and was really trying to grind it down. So it's
she's
fun
brutal.
to watch.
Her half guard passing in Nogi is brutal. I mean, she's just out there torturing people. But up next, light featherweight, the artist formerly known as Amanda Montero, now Amanda Canuto, goes out there and gets a world
submission
title.
win. Yeah, submission win in the final there over Patricia Machado. So that was nice to see. I think it was an arm triangle, if I'm remembering correctly. So Amanda Canuto, a gi and no gi world champion at this point.
Yeah,
a very young career. Yeah,
we got a bunch of power couples in jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, that's we got to maybe start having tag team matches with these people.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What we should do is put twins versus married couples and just see what happens.
Speaking of which, we have a question here, and Vinicius wants to know, how we feel about Roberto becoming a black belt and how he's going.
Oh man, super excited! How could you not be?
We're gonna see. It's gonna be tough up there at heavyweight. I think there'll be a little bit of a learning curve, just like there is with everybody. I mean, Marigali, Kine, and these guys all took some bad losses in their first year at black belt, so we'll see. I mean, but Roberto can catch anybody. He can roll to the back and choke anybody. We've seen that.
Yeah, were you guys surprised by the Roosevelt match, or did you know going into that Roberto would get the best of Roosevelt?
He tapped him at Nogi Pan, so I wasn't surprised. But I wouldn't have been surprised if Roosevelt beat him up either. That's sort of how it goes with Roberto. He either taps somebody or gets beat up. So he really puts it on the line out there. Yeah. But the women, up next was featherweight. Toledo, Honey Badger, running wild in there. She looked great. Toledo.
Yeah, that opening match against Karen Antunes was super impressive, right? Yeah. Ran through Karen. Karen was actually my pick to win, so I was pretty amazed by that.
Wasn't a bad pick. I mean, Karen's a former Nogi world champ. Toledo's someone who's had sort of a down year by her standards. She took 2 bad DQs. She got DQ'd at the Brasileiro for changing her clothes or changing her rash guard or something after weighing in, and then she gets DQ'd at Worlds for they wrote she was fleeing the mat in that omoplata from Tammy, right? So she hasn't had that great of a year. Then she comes out here. She looks sharp, man. She looked better than she has all year. She looked top level Toledo. Really aggressive against Karen. And then in the final, she had who was she having in the final?
Heather Raftery.
Heather, yeah, that's another Nogi stud. And she looked really sharp there. I mean, she was really tenacious. Both times I saw a stand-up from Heather and Karen, and she did the same takedown to Matt return them. And Toledo was just looking sharp. Her technique, I mean, she was aggressive as always, but her technique, she kept her head in the game. She didn't make any mistakes. Nothing like getting DQ or getting a penalty for dancing against Amanda at Worlds. She didn't slip up, and she just focused on the competing, was really aggressive, and played her game. And I was happy for her to finish the year like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shout out to Heather Raftery, who also had a really strong event in the featherweight division and the absolute division. I think she secured submissions in both. She had a nice knee bar over Gabriela Fechter in the featherweight, and I forget the woman's name who she submitted in the absolute, but that's a big deal for Heather to get the silver medal and to do it in style. So shout out to her.
Yeah, I mean, she's had some great Nogi Worlds performances. She tapped Nicolini that year with the knee bar. Gabby Fetcher took third in that division too, so I guess Heather would have beat Gabby Fetcher, or Gabby Fletcher, as Ricardo calls her. So, moving on to the next weight class, lightweight, Natalie Ribeiro. Wins Nogi Worlds, beats tough Jenna Bishop in the final. This was a good one. Do you remember how this match went down? I don't remember the Jenna and Natalie Ribeiro match too much. I was interviewing Toledo during it.
So it was super close. I believe Natalie won by advantage. Really smart strategy. She pulled guard early. The first 5 minutes of the match was her pulling guard. She had a really she looked really comfortable playing just an open guard while Jenna tried to pass mostly from the feet. Wasn't able to really get anywhere. I think she even wrestled up from the guard to get that advantage, where she came up and grabbed like a single leg and got some points that way, or advantage points, I should say. And then the second half of the match, she was really actually testing out her wrestling, which I thought, looking at it from the outside, was a risky move. Jenna's got good wrestling, also had a full ADCC camp, and it was closer. I would say Jenna was never very close to passing the guard, but she was very close on some takedown entries and some scrambles. But Natalie looked really great, and she won that match.
I believe I just saw 5 advantages on the board for Natalie at the end. So she was
maybe.
Yeah, it looked like at the end she was winning big on advantages, but also fighting off a single leg from Jenna. So that could one went down to the wire.
It really did. It was a fun match. Yeah, maybe I missed a couple of matches, but overall, strong showing from her. Really, really strong showing, and I was really impressed with her stand-up game, given the fact that Jenna is so good there. So,
yeah, middleweight Raquel Canuto. This was a tough weight class. I think a lot of people were picking Gabby McComb to win it. Gabby McComb got ankle locked by this girl, Jacqueline. I don't know if she goes by Mariz, Amarim, or Ramos. She has 3 different last names. I'll call her Ramos. I don't know. Jacqueline Ramos from Checkmat. They didn't close out in the final, but a big win for this girl Jacqueline by tapping Gabby McComb, who is a lot of people's favorite. But Raquel goes out and wins her second No-Gi Worlds title in a dominant fashion. I saw her get some guard passes and stuff there from what I saw. And Raquel's another one who was talking about, she's been an up-and-down year for her, and she got really emotional about winning No-Gi Worlds. So, I mean, now 2-time No-Gi World Champion for Raquel. What do you think about the final there, Chase?
Oh, yeah, it's a strong showing from Raquel. She never really deviated from the game plan. She's got really, really savvy takedowns, really good mat returns where a girl might be trying to flee the mat, and she was able to spin around the momentum, turn them back inside, and get the points instead of maybe getting an advantage, because you never really know how that's going to work out. So strong showing from Raquel. She looked great all weekend long. Really aggressive fighter, just like Hanato, her husband and fellow No-Gi World Champion. They just really have a strong game plan. You can tell that they made strategy before the event started, and she stuck to it the whole weekend. So good for her.
Actually, going back to lightweight, who beat Kaká? Who beat Catherine Perret at lightweight? Because that's somebody that
I don't think she competed.
Okay, she didn't. I remember she was in the bracket.
Yeah.
Okay, she didn't compete. All right, medium heavy. 4-girl bracket, but they were all studs. And I'll be honest with you, Veda Toscano won No-Gi Worlds in her first attempt at black belt. But looking at these 4 girls, they're all good. I would have probably seeded Veda 4th. I would not have thought she would have won this bracket. She goes out. She beats Tamara, first round. Tamara Ferreira, very good competitor from Cicero Costa. And then beats Julia Basher in the finals. Julia took out Andressa Sintra in her semi black belt world.
That was a controversial match, though. Actually, Sintra was DQ'd.
What was controversial there? Because I didn't see the DQ, but I just saw Andressa and Lucas Valente talking to the referees for like 2 hours afterwards about it. What happened?
So if I remember correctly, Sintra is playing 50-50, legs on the outside. No reaping scenario at all. But Julia spun away from the 50-50 position to avoid an ankle lock. And as she was spinning, Sintra rolled with the momentum. She didn't even go all the way over, but they DQ'd her for rolling the wrong way on an ankle lock. Now, if you watch the video, it seems like that she was strictly following Bosher's momentum, which I believe is legal. I believe if they turn, you're allowed to follow. But the referee did not see it that way and said that she went inward on the ankle lock and DQ'd her. Sintra was very upset, didn't leave the mat for almost 6-7 minutes. And then, of course, they were petitioning the IWGF to review the call. But I don't think I've ever seen something get reversed that long after the match is over. And, she was DQ'd from the event.
You know where in the match that was?
Before the end of it, I suppose.
That was the Sintra match. This is the Bosher. You're on the Bosher and Veda match. It's a different match.
Gotcha.
Yeah, don't worry.
you're looking
I don't worry about pulling up the DQ. It's all right. And then, so Veda, huge win for her. I mean, another new black belt. I mean, sort of the story of this No-Gi Worlds was new black belts. Yeah. First year black belts showing up and really running the show. A lot of first time black No-Gi World champions. And Veda's another one who just a few months ago was a brown belt. Now she's a black belt world champ, No-Gi World champ. So Beat a very tenacious Julia Boscher in the final. Julia's, very strong, very aggressive, very scrappy, but Vader was able to withstand it and come out on top. Toledo Nogueira wins heavyweight. I think a lot of people saw that coming. That weight class was a little thin. That weight class, in no-gi at least, is not as tough as it is in the gi when you get, Nachieli and some of these other girls in the mix. So Toledo won. How'd she go in that final? Chase?
It was a rough final, if I have to be completely honest. The Elizabeth Foster, the girl that she was facing, was really, really committed to inverting and going on a leg. And so she spent half the match basically on her own head with her butt in Toledo's face. And Toledo was really, really stable, had a great base, and wasn't letting her drag the leg up, into any entanglements. And so it wasn't necessarily a bad strategy from Foster, because if she had gotten the leg, she would have, it seemed like, been in her A game. But she never really was able to mount any offense. And she basically just got smashed at one point. Toledo put her in do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say the unfair 50-50? Where
yeah. She has it over where she's almost going to a leg drag position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was a great part of the match as well. Kind of almost had an arm triangle there. It looked really uncomfortable. So Trator never really, Treta never really scored, but also was never in any danger. So kind of a tedious final, if we're being completely honest. But that's how you have to play it sometimes. If you open up when those leg entanglements are being hunted, you can really put yourself in a tough spot. So you have to play conservative.
Okay, super heavy was pretty uneventful. 3 Gracie Baja girls ended up with Kendall and Jessica Flowers. Kendall Rusing and Jessica Flowers closing out. But the open class, they closed out the open class as well. I think, to me, the big story of the open class was Kendall Rusing. Kendall Rusing looks really strong out there in her first. Technically, she took second in the open class to her teammate Jessica. But she looked really strong out there in her first no-gi Worlds at Black Belt. Her wrestling was the story there. I mean, she went against Raquel Canuto. She took down Raquel Canuto, no-gi world champ, 2 times. Beats her. She goes against Julia Boscher. She takes down, she got a hook really late in the match. She shot in. Boscher defended. Kendall gets the hook to get an advantage and win at the end. Basically won it off a takedown scramble as well. And then she fights Gabby McComb in the semis. Gabby McComb, obviously a beast. They're going toe-to-toe takedowns. And Kendall, again, another late takedown. Really used wrestling, too, to sort of flatten Gabby out with a half Nelson to stick her and finally secure the 2 points there. But, yeah, Kendall's wrestling on the way to the finals really impressed me. And, I mean, if girls are going to try and stand up and wrestle with her like that, I think she's going to have a lot of success. I mean, I think that's another girl looking forward for ADCC that could be a lot of problems for people. I think that over 60 division ADCC with Clay, Kendall, Maggie coming up is going to be really competitive in the upcoming years. Man. What do you think about the open class, Chase?
Yeah, I mean, everything you said right there definitely shines true. I did see that match with Julia Boscher and Kendall. And Julia, it was a tied match, I believe, maybe either tied up on advantages or penalties or whatever. It was very close. And Kendall secured that advantage at the very last exchange in the match. I mean, it was 10 seconds left. Shows a lot of grit, a lot of heart, and something you want to see out of a rookie competitor now. She's very hungry. I will say also that Jessica Flowers from Gracie Baja, who closed out with Kendall, was the only competitor in the black belt ranks to have 3 submission wins, including weight and absolute.
Yeah, there was no man who did that. 3 matches, and she went 3 for 3 on submissions, right?
Yeah, exactly. So shout out to Jessica Flowers for being the wrecking ball that she is and taking everybody out. But fun open class for sure. And like I said a bit earlier in the show, Heather Raftery got a submission win over, I believe, a super heavy athlete. So not bad for a featherweight.
Yeah, Heather Raftery's a submission machine. I saw after her match with Gabby Fester. Gabby Fester was limping off, so Heather's got some great leg locks. So there we go. There's your female open class champs closed out. Jessica Flowers takes the title. For the male, Victor Hugo, of course, won by knee bar in dramatic fashion. So this will be our last show for a couple weeks. We're going to take the holidays off. I think we're going to talk about coming back on January 2nd on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at that point, it's going to be gi season time. We're going to get back into it, start previewing the gi season. I want to get in-depth into all these divisions, what we think is going to happen, how we think the new black belts are going to be going. So if you're like me and you enjoyed all this no-gi action for the last several months, but you just can't wait for the gi season to start, I'm just I've had enough of the no-gi season. I can't wait for something new and fresh. Talk about the gi tournaments. Get out there to Euros and have some gi stuff going on. I'm sure you're excited for it, too.
It's a beautiful thing, Michael.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so we're gonna really nerd out in January on all that stuff coming up with previewing the season and everything. I promise by the time you see me in 2020, I'll have the ranking situation. I got to go through Instagram and see everybody that got promoted in the last week and fix all that. And also our event. Be on the lookout for a ton of content for the Who's Number One event coming up February 8th. Buy tickets, FloGrappling Tix, TIX.com. This week we should have some black belt super fights announced. All the color belt matches are announced and on the site. And Ryan, what are your plans for the holidays?
Man, I'm going back home, seeing some family.
Where's
gonna
home?
Do some training.
Going back to my house? Oh, Charlotte. Okay. Chase, obviously living it up out there in Costa Mesa. You gonna get some training in AOJ out there?
I am. So I think maybe tomorrow I was talking to my friend here, Zach Naminsky, AOJ Black Belt. He's invited me to the 8 a.m. session. I'm like, why are you guys doing this to me? I can't say no, but I'm not the 8 a.m. guy. That's not my style.
Their 9 a.m. was pretty chill. I filmed it the other day. There's some Masters guys in there. I could vibe with that 9 a.m. class. He's playing some easy listening music.
Yeah.
Just watch out for Colabate, a little Savage in there beating people up. But,
Yep.
Yeah, Cole's
But that's
dad.
the idea. Train
Cole's
a couple
dad's
times
pretty
and,
good too.
Yeah.
I was watching Cole's dad. He's got a good lasso guard. But
good to know. I'll be ducking them all. You know, it's what? It's not the black belts that hurt me. It's the green belts where it's like, oh my god, this green belt is just gonna take my soul, and it hurts so much more.
There's some orange belts in there that probably beat me up. But all right, enjoy your holidays, Chase. Enjoy your holidays, Ryan. Ricardo's in Canada where they don't have holidays, so he doesn't get to enjoy anything. All right, see you guys in 2020. Thank you very much for everything, and go buy tickets to the show, FloGrapplingTix.com. Thanks.